And welcome to Divine Downloads. I'm your host, Cassandra, and your spiritual mentor for everything strategic and spiritual to help you create a life that lights you up. And today we are talking about this Libra full moon, the closest supermoon of 2020. I'm also going to touch on the Pluto-Jupiter conjunction that we just had this past weekend because we're going to be feeling that for the rest of the year, and it's really, really important, as well as a lot of other planets that are coming up that are going to give us some really nice energy to move through this. So get excited. It's a good one. But before we jump into that, I do want to let you know that I have a lot of resources available for you right now. If you need help kind of making sense of the spiritual and different things that are going on with the coronavirus and everything like that, at my website, cassandrabadzak.com/corona-kit. There's a bunch of different podcasts that have to do with that, as well as different videos and meditations that will help you. I also have my Spread Your Light course going right now for $1,000 off for all of those. I just know there's this whole wave of light workers right now that are getting activated, that are being called to step up, to share their medicine, and to be able to support themselves while doing it. We're creating a new paradigm right now of how we work in the world. And I also have a bunch of workshops, online workshops up right now. So if you need a break from Netflix or from whatever it is you're binging right now and you want something that really nourishes your soul, you can check those out as well. Put all of them in the links below. But without further ado, let's talk about this full moon in Libra. So like I said, this is the closest supermoon of 2020. What does that mean? Well, that means supermoons are they're called supermoons because they appear bigger because they're close to the earth. And what a full moon in general does is it illuminates, right? When we see the moon full, it's like a big ball of light that's lighting our lives. And so a supermoon is even like illuminating things to a whole other degree. And a full moon is always a time of either releasing, letting go, a time of completion, a time of manifestation, or like the finalization of something. So it could be maybe you wished for something on a new moon and it comes true on a full moon, so to speak, or it could be you start a project on a new moon and you finish it on a full moon. Full moons are kind of like tying the bow in a respect, or it can be shedding the skin, allowing things to wash away. So we have it in Libra right now. Libra is ruled by Venus, which is the planet of love and money and values. And Libra also rules relationships and balance and fairness, right? So one of the obvious things I think some astrologers are talking about is endings of relationships. And I think that's something that you can, to be honest, I think it's a bit of a low-hanging fruit, and I think there's so much more depth to what's going on astrologically than that. I think for some people that will be true. Right now we've been in quarantine. A lot of us are in close quarters with people. A lot of us may be having to deal with a lot of friends and family members texting us or FaceTiming us or calling us all the time, sending us news articles, whatever it is, right? So our relationships have been put in a bit of a pressure cooker recently. And so this is the time, whether it's in your romantic relationships or in your friendships or colleague relationships, where you might be assessing what does not work for you anymore. So if after being, stuck with your partner for a few weeks, you're really seeing a lot of the cracks in a relationship, you really might see that this isn't working for you, then you might see a lot of breakups around this full moon, honestly, because things are going to be really illuminated if something is a no-go, right? But also, and what I'm feeling, I think more people are going to be feeling than that, is also just recognizing through this whole lens of this situation right now, what relationships you really want to water in your life. So taking that to whether it was friends friends, acquaintances, coworkers that maybe you've been texting with or emailing with or calling with during this time, and really noticing, who energizes you, who made you, who's an energy that you welcome into your day, and whose, messages kind of bring you down or kind of get you into a more negative place, right? Who doesn't align with you anymore. You might also feel the scale, so to speak, right? Are there relationships in your life that are more draining than they are giving, right? Are there relationships in your life that take, but you don't actually feel that reciprocal energy? Do you feel, this is like that typical, if you feel like you have a friend that really, always like wants to talk about their stuff, but never wants to allow you to talk about your stuff, right? That unbalancing is something that Libra does not like. And then similarly with that, it's also with Venus ruling Libra, it's about values, right? Do you guys not share the same values? And so you may have already had this with different like political opinions, or, people who think it should be handled one way or it should be handled this way. You might find yourself really wanting to cut ties or take some space, at least from relationships that are just not aligned with your values, don't feel fair, don't feel nourishing right now. And then let's see, is there anything else I want to talk about that? It also comes with the relationship with the self. And this I honestly think is a more potent situation right now for a lot of us, because whether if you're quarantined with a partner, you're quarantined by yourself, you're having to deal with your relationship with yourself right now on a whole nother level. You're really having to see, how do I deal with these situations? We have a lot of time to self-reflect, a lot of time to see. One of the things that I've been talking to my clients and my Miracle Mastermind ladies about, and I think I mentioned on the business Q&A, I did a business Q&A for anybody that's curious about how to launch a business or pivot a business during this time. And I'll put the link for that below. It's free. You can watch the recording. We did it last week. It was super fun. But one of the things I said was, during this time, you're really going to get to see what areas where you sabotage yourself, where you hold yourself back. Because we have Mars square Uranus, right? And so the Mars square Uranus plus the Libra moon. So Libra is you're assessing also the balance in your life, right? You might be assessing work-life balance. I think that's something that's definitely come up for me during this, right? Is that I'm realizing through more than ever seeing kind of what other people are doing, maybe where my scales weren't equal on the work life balance. You'll be also having that time to reflect to yourself and say, what is my relationship to myself good? Do what, maybe instead of, this is what I think it's more so, but maybe instead of looking across at that other person and being like, you're negative, you take a look at yourself and be like, okay, well, I like to say, if you spot it, you got it. So if you're looking at them and saying, oh, they're negative, they drag me down, well, that's fine. You're allowed to set boundaries and decide who feels good to you and not. But also really look at yourself and say, okay, well, where am I the negative Nancy in the relationship with myself? Where is it up here that I'm draining myself? And like I said, with the Mars square Uranus, it's really interesting because you have Mars, which is kind of like, which is like war and like almost like militant energy, right? And then Uranus, sorry, I just hit the mic. Uranus, which craves freedom, right? Wants freedom. So you have this kind of, they're going head to head inside of a lot of us right now. And so what that looks like is, well, one, what it's literally manifesting as in the earth plane right now, which is us wanting to be free and having to be confined, right? But what that also looks like in your personal life, because as things play out on earth and as these themes play out on the global level, they also play out on our personal level. So it's important to look at both. If you're seeing a theme on a global level, it's important to say, okay, well, where does that theme appear in my life? Because when we look at how it appears in our life, we can kind of shift the first block, right? We can make the first move. Um, and so I think that's really helpful in saying, okay, well, the Uranus Mars aspect in us is, well, where am I wanting to kind of push forward? When am I wanting that freedom? Where am I wanting to take that leap? Where am I wanting to jump into that? But where am I holding myself back? Where am I so scared of the unknown? Or where is that like old excuse? I posted this thing on Instagram the other day that came up in my meditation. It was like, you know, check in with yourself right now while a lot of us are stuck at home and working from home, doing whatever, everything from home. And ask yourself, well, is there something is there something that I really desire to do right now? Right? Something that's been calling me to do that for whatever reason I'm not doing, or I'm saying I don't have time for, or whatever it is. Ask yourself, well, what is the excuse you're giving yourself right now that you don't have to do it? And then is that the same script that was playing out before all this? Because I guarantee it probably was. And now you're just seeing it on like hyperdrive because all of a sudden you're 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 left with a little less pragmatic excuses, right? When we're back to our regular life, it's so easy to be like, well, I had the meetings and then I had to go to dinner with that person and then I had to do this, right? And now it's like, okay, you've got all this extra free time because even if you are working the same hours during the day on the computer, now you at least get those hours that you were commuting back, right? Maybe you get a lunch break at home. If there was a passion project, if there was something that you really wanted to do, if it's truly a priority to you, you can make it happen right now, right? And so it's just interesting to observe in that situation where you're holding yourself back from your own freedom, which is what that wants to show us. Wants to say, and so for a lot of freedom, a lot of people, that freedom, I believe right now, is finally following their passion, right? And this goes back to the Libra moon with values, right? Are you finally ready to make money doing something you value, right? Because maybe the seed has been planted a while ago. Maybe it was planted on the new moon in Libra in September. Maybe it was planted even long ago before that, right? But this is the moon that's really asking you too, okay, well, are you finally ready to take that leap? Are you finally ready to stop holding yourself back? And it's these kinds of aspects, of course, which is why last week I was doing that, free business Q&A to share, to help people get jump started around this. I have a couple podcasts that if you go a few podcasts back before this, talking about how to recession proof your business, talking about why right now is such an auspicious time to rise up, why you're being activated and called. And a lot of this is all part of it, we have the Jupiter Pluto conjunction going on right now, which I think is almost a bigger story, really, than the full moon in Libra, because this is an aspect that's going to really be coloring our whole 2020. And you have Jupiter, which is the teacher, the giver of blessings, this kind of lucky, expansive planet, right? And then you have Pluto, which is representative like the underworld, right? The things that are kind of hidden below the surface, and having them meet up really gives us a few interesting opportunities. So one of the interesting opportunities is being able to allow things to come to the light, right? Allow things to come to the light, and the things that may have been hidden, the things that may have been secret, or the things that maybe we've been ignoring, right? So if we go back to what we just talked about, maybe we're ignoring that you just kind of keep on making this excuse about this project you want to start, right? And now it's kind of like going to be hitting you in the head, and Jupiter will be giving its blessing, I believe, if once we really look at the sickness, so to speak, right? So we're seeing that on a worldly level, right? We're seeing Pluto on a worldly level reveal all of these systems that were broken, all of these things that we were unprepared for, all of these things that aren't working right now. And so a lot of these things we didn't know about, or we didn't even think about because we didn't need to, yet, right? So all of this is kind of like the sheets are being ripped up, but now we're seeing the ugly. And then Jupiter comes in, and Jupiter, one, can expand that, right? So it can make it bigger first, but then Jupiter also can come in and help us learn lessons from it and help it ultimately become a blessing. So Jupiter can come swoop in and make lemons out of lemonade, so to speak, and it can say, okay, well, now that you see the problem, it's kind of like if your car breaks down, so to speak. You're driving around and your car breaks down and you didn't know that you had a problem until it broke down. And then when you open it up and you see what's going on, it gives you a chance to fix it. And then maybe that's a blessing in disguise, because maybe while you're there, you tighten up a few other things. I obviously don't know anything about cars, but you fix it up even better, and you can make a couple extra even adjustments so the car is even better than it was before, right? So it gives us that opportunity as well. And so this aspect is also a great aspect for what we're talking about as far as helping others and being able to benefit from it. So if you're helping others from an altruistic point of view, from a genuine place of service, right, is being able to, so Pluto in a lot of ways is a healer, right? It's like going down to the underbelly. It's like looking at that stuff, right? So that you can heal it. It's not always pleasant, right? But then we will be blessed when we learn those lessons. So if you're someone that is ready to share your medicine, if you're someone that can help people look at things, can help people heal, right, can look at what's wrong and provide a solution, or look at, not that was necessarily wrong with people, but let's say it could be even like what's wrong with systems right now and provide a solution, then you can not only be genuinely helpful, but you can also be able to be blessed for being helpful, right? That's what Jupiter does. It showers blessings on us, right? So there is that opportunity right now, whether it is looking at a system and trying to redo it, whether it is providing healing, helping hold that space for people to move through these different emotions. There's that, if you're coming from a place of service and you're part of the rebuilding effort, so to speak, Jupiter will bless you. Is truly how I feel about it. That's what I see in that. Okay. We also have oh my god, I feel like I have so much to tell you guys. Okay, so also the sun is in 9 degrees Aries. So that's why a lot of you guys right now are probably feeling that buzzed feeling. Those some of you guys have reached out to me because I've been talking about it myself. I've felt like electrocuted in the past few weeks, and just so on purpose and so really clear. It was just like very, very, very clear to me that I got the divine download that, okay, this is your time. It's your time to mobilize light leaders. It's your time to call them out. It's your time to give them the tools you have, teach them everything you know, and really get them out on there and expedite the path. And, that has been my very clear guidance since all this began. And a lot of you will have or will be receiving similar things where you're feeling more connected to your purpose than ever. You're feeling more connected to the work that you're being called to do in the world right now. And that's giving you that push ahead. And so you have a lot on your side right now to take that leap. And it's almost like this full moon, when I look at the whole picture of it, it's almost like this full moon is really saying, okay, well, let's cut ties. Let's release all of these things that are holding you back. Let's not only release, relationships or partnerships or whatnot that are no longer serving you, both business and, personal, but also let's release this part of you that is stuck, right? There's that, we have Uranus and Taurus, right? So it's almost like you're like stubborn about staying in these old ways that aren't working for you anymore, right? And there's this giant gust of energy for you to take that leap with. It's a giant gust of energy for you to really go deep, get clear on your values, get clear on what you're feeling called to do. I also wrote down, we have Saturn and Aquarius, and that's like this energy of how can I help? Aquarius is like leading the charge, like the revolutionary, finding that solution for the collective. And Saturn is kind of like your diligent boss, so to speak, right? It's like, okay, you do this work, I'm going to pay you this much. So it's about hard work, but it's also about thinking, okay, well, where's my part right now in helping, birth this new earth, so to speak? Where's my part in being part of the solution right now? So it should be a pretty invigorating energy. I will warn for some emotional showers, because there can be a lot of emotions that come up um, with full moons, with super moons, and I just want to let you know that any of those emotions that come up, if it feels overwhelming, if it feels intense, it's just it's showing you one of these aspects right now that you need to see, right? So it's showing you, okay, this is the way that you've been stuck in your ways and you're stopping yourself from moving forward, right? This is the way that you've kind of put yourself in a box, right? And you're not allowing that freedom. This is the way that maybe you haven't been aligned with your values in the way that you make money. This is the way that maybe there's been a lack of fairness in your life or a lack of balance in your life, right? And so depending on your chart, you're all going to experience this so differently, right? And so some people are going to experience this, heavily in, that lit on fire career aspect. Some people might dissolve business partnerships right now. Some people are going to have to like literally go through their text message and start like deleting people that always send them negative things. Um, there's so many different ways you can experience this, and that's why I try to give you all of these kind of little flavors that are moving on right now and allow you to really take in what resonates with you and leave the rest, because as it works in astrology, it's like not every moon is going to hit you. Like we feel them all, but some of them, it's kind of like, here's actually this is I think a good example, a little weird kind of morbid example, but it's kind of like um when we could just do with the coronavirus right now. This is like, I can't hate that I'm using this example, but it's like if you have someone that you love that's affected with the coronavirus, right? That's much closer to your home. And so it brings up a different level of awareness. Whereas if you have like a friend whose friend is related to the coronavirus, has the coronavirus, right? It's similar to that in astrology. So for some people, it's going to feel like it's right there and it's, oh my God, all of this, yes. And then for other people, it might be, oh, a friend of a friend. It might feel a little bit more distant. So you might feel, that's what I said, all of us are going to be feeling this Pluto-Jupiter conjunction. We're going to be feeling this great upheaval kind of the underworlds of our personal lives and the collective, which we're just seeing every day on the news, right? And we're going to be given that opportunity. Like I like to call it, make lemonade out of lemons. It's like, first you have to acknowledge the lemons. You have to not pretend that you got bananas. You have to say, okay, we got some lemons here. But once we acknowledge that we got some lemons, we see them for what they are, then that gives us an opportunity to get creative with it. That gives an opportunity to create something better with it. And that opportunity is there. So that's the great news. Yeah, I think that is, oh, one last thing that I'm going to leave you guys with is this shift in consciousness. So we're moving from Capricorn season to Aquarius. And moving from Capricorn to Aquarius is, are we moving from Capricorn season to Aquarius? No. Sorry, I'm like, what am I saying? No. So we're moving from an energy of Capricorn to an energy of Aquarius, right? And so what's happening with that shift is a shift in consciousness. So you might have been hearing this, right? About how a lot of waves of ascension are coming through, how we're moving from the 3D to the 5D. That's also happening kind of astrologically. It's showing that. I'm going to do a whole other podcast on that because there's so much to go into around that. But essentially, there's an opportunity right now to step up our level of consciousness, One, through all of this time at home, all this self-reflection, really shedding these old ways that are holding us back, that are stagnating us, but also simply and us choosing our perspective in every moment. I talk about this in my Miracle Mastermind all the time. It's like we always have that chance to shift from fear to love, right? And when we're in that consciousness of love, that's what being in the 5D is, right? The 5D is being able to have that eagle's eye perspective. That's able to have that, Aquarian perspective, so to speak, right? And it's so interesting when you think about Capricorn versus Aquarius. Capricorn is like systems and kind of like government and rules, and like I almost think of it like the ladder that you climb up or the mountain that you climb up, right? It's this very structured space and very grounded earthly energy, right? So that's being, when we're in that kind of, let's say, the Capricorn or the 3D energy of that, it's being really here on earth, right? And then when we're in that other, that more Aquarian or that 5D or whatever you want to call it, um, it's not that. I think there's this misconception that you like go to another dimension, and like you're floating with unicorns and stuff. That's not it. It's just that you're living here, but your consciousness is experiencing the world differently. So you're able to see situations from that eagle eye perspective. You're able to see things from that innovative space. You're able to see that from that higher vision, from a more divine perspective, instead of the more grounded, fear based perspective that we have here on earth. And so there's a real opportunity right now, as I'm sure a lot of you guys are already experiencing, to elevate our consciousness and to elevate the way we look at things. And I think, astrology is one of those things that I've always loved for that, as well as, of course, I love A Course in Miracles, because I think that is like the OG book on essentially moving from 3D to 5D and getting into a love-based consciousness. And but we have this moment right now, right? We have this moment right now that you get to choose every day, right? You get to choose how you look at the world and how you look at what's going around you every day. And it doesn't mean that you don't honor your feelings or all of that jazz. But even in that space, so you can honor your feelings and still be in that higher consciousness, right? You can look at what's going on in the world. You can watch the news and be conscious and aware. It's not about not doing that. You might want to make sure, monitor how much you do that, because we all need to take care of ourselves and our mental well-being. So you don't want to be watching the news all day right now, because it's not going to help anyone. But when you do watch it, like, you can look at that even from more of an eagle's eye perspective. You can look at that from the more of a, a place of possibility or a higher vision, right? And it's just a different experience. So anyway, I don't want to go too full into that. I want to just keep this with the full moon and that Pluto Jupiter conjunction. I wanted to get you guys this, and then we'll do an episode next week that will dive deeper into New Earth and Ascension and all the other things that are coming on. But I do want to encourage you guys, for you guys that are really feeling that 9 degrees Aries, for you guys that are, feeling the Pluto Jupiter and this drive, this lit upness to say it's go time. This is my time. I've been waiting to share my medicine. I'm ready to go out there. I want to offer it to the world. I want to be able to support myself doing what I love. I'm ready to anchor in to that new paradigm right now. I do want you to, check out the links below. I have that free Q&A. It's 90 minutes. It's so much information about how to grow, pivot your business right now. I also have that killer deal on Spread Your Light, which is my, pretty much my heart-centered business in a box course. It teaches you everything I know about everything from growing your social media to launching to your audience to your offerings, everything all in Spread Your Light. So you can check that out in the link below as well. And don't forget to hop on my newsletter and subscribe to Divine Downloads so that you don't miss a podcast. I love having you here, and I appreciate you. Happy